If you don't like what I'm about to say in this video, don't get so worked up. It's just a joke, bro. So, if you follow my channel regularly, yes, I am still supposed to be on vacation, but here we are. So, when my video came out earlier this week, addressing the current accusations and issues and conversations surrounding Noel Clarke and John Barrowman and Doctor Who and their behavior and or how that does or doesn't connect back to that show, there was something that came up both in the live chat when the video premiered and in the comments repeatedly enough that I need to address it. It's been a little while since this has happened where something comes up in the comments frequently enough that I find myself thinking, okay, well, I can either respond to all of these and then copy and paste that response, or I can make a video, which maybe I should do given how many people are saying this. Now, this is going to address specifically the conversation about John Barrowman, so we can forget Noel Clarke right now. Or, we can forget him permanently. That's fine too. So here was the thing that would frequently come up. It was this notion that what he did, which to reiterate, was various levels of self-exposure on set in a joking manner, not in a manner that really, in any documentation that I can find, comes across as sexually predatory, but as a joke. I don't get why that's funny, but that was the tone of what John Barrowman would do. Now, there is obviously now a conversation going on about that, but one of the frequent defenses of him basically boiled down to his coworkers didn't complain. The people who have talked about that publicly laughed it off, some have even said some equivalent of, I thought it was hilarious, it's fine. So I have a lot of problems with those arguments being used to excuse or downplay his actions. Now, let me be clear. The difference in motivation between him and Noel Clarke, I said we could forget him, sorry. I'm just going to make the comparison real quick, does matter. Because John Barrowman's intention was to get people to laugh in a way that was ill-advised and very unprofessional. And Noel Clarke used his celebrity and position of power to actively take advantage of people, allegedly. I'm not going to stick allegedly on the John Barrowman because these are well-documented incidents with many, many, many people having spoken publicly about it, including himself. So I don't feel like allegedly really fits there. Besides, there's no criminal allegations. There are on Noel Clarke, so we'll stick allegedly on there. So there are a number of reasons why this defense of him makes me very, very uncomfortable and very unsettled to see it being deployed as much as it is. Now, before I get into any of these, let me say, I do understand where a desire to use this defense in his favor comes from. Because it's not hard to project yourself into his shoes and think, well, I mean, I've got inside jokes with my friends. We've got things that we joke about that we say that aren't really PC or shouldn't be said in public, but like everybody's okay with it. And you wouldn't want to be judged for those kinds of interactions with people that you know are okay with what you're saying. And that can make you hesitant to judge someone else when you feel like it's a similar situation. The first thing to address, if that's the kind of connection you're making, is that John Barrowman was not with a group of friends hanging out in an apartment. He was on a set. He was working. These were professional environments. And no matter what you think about whether or not what he did was funny, it sure as hell was not professional. So there's already an inherent problem because this isn't just a group of friends hanging out. So to think of it in those terms is a bad comparison. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I find it very unsettling that people would cite a few specifics of individuals who have said, oh yeah, he'd do that, whatever.
I'm changing for a bit, Noel.
And even when there are some people who have gone on record and basically said that, there's a big problem with presuming that means everybody was okay. Because first of all, not everyone who was on that set has commented. There were plenty of people who haven't. And I'm not just talking about other co-stars. Something that almost never comes up in these conversations is that the actors and the director are not the only people on the set. There are lighting technicians. There's the camera crew. There are the sound engineers. There are production assistants just running around and handling whatever needs to be done at any given moment. And these people's opinions are basically never asked. Not by fandoms, not by journalists. They are always just assumed because we don't see them in front of the screen. Oh, they're like a background feature. We don't have to think about them. No, you do. So even if every single actor who was sharing a scene with John Barrowman was okay when he did these sorts of things, that doesn't mean that all the other professionals on a professional work set were okay with it. That is a very bad assumption to make because you don't know that. And to take a couple of instances of people who totally were and say, therefore, nobody was offended, you do not know that. Now, do I know for a fact that they were offended? Well, no. But I'm not going to pretend like I know that. So please don't you pretend like you know they weren't. Now, somewhat related to this, people would also say, in addition to, what some of his co-stars have said publicly, laughing about it very jokingly, seem to think it was funny, there would be people saying, well, nobody ever complained. First of all, you don't have to complain about something for it to be wrong. Let's get that out there. And second of all, in an environment, especially like a film shoot, there is a disproportionate power balance. And there are lots and lots of people who, even if they do feel uncomfortable, are not going to complain about it because they know they are lower on the totem pole than the person whose behavior makes them uncomfortable. And for them to talk about it is to endanger their careers. Now, again, we should be well aware of this because of how many people were silent for so long about so many figures that we have now come to know as monsters. A big part of why so few spoke out is because they knew they mattered less. And that if something came down to, well, we either get rid of one of our in front of the camera stars or discipline them or make a fuss, or we just quietly get rid of this extra, this one scene actor, this grip, what have you, guess what they're going to do? That is why people don't speak. So presuming that silence and a lack of complaints from people on set also means everyone was fine with it is also an incredibly false assumption. But you know what? Let's, for a moment, engage with a hypothetical. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that every single person on set, in front and behind the camera, was not only okay with John Barrowman whipping his junk out, in fact found it humorous. Let's for a moment assume that that is in fact true, that there was not a single person offended and everybody genuinely, not uncomfortably, but genuinely laughed and thought it was funny. It still wouldn't be okay in that situation. Because, as I said, this is not a group of friends hanging out. This is a professional set. And when someone behaves like that and is not talked to and is not disciplined, is not simply told, hey, please don't do that anymore, then that becomes a mark that signals to whoever is aware that this happened, which I'll remind you all is actually a big chunk of the fandom because these stories have been getting shared. It signals to them that there are some times that it is acceptable to whip out your junk in front of strangers who did not ask or give you clearance or consent to do that. It's not. It is objectively not okay. okay to do in a professional working environment. And to do it, and to say, well, it was okay because everyone was comfortable, not only sends a message to other people that sometimes it is okay, but it's going to allow a lot of people to do mental gymnastics and self-justification where they go, oh, well, everybody's laughing. Everybody seems to be okay with this. So I definitely didn't do anything wrong when I decided to do that. This is not acceptable behavior in the environment he was doing it. It's arguable that it's not acceptable behavior under any circumstances. I'm not quite prepared to go that far because, like I said, if you're with a group of people, of friends, and you want to have those kinds of moments, jokes, things, and you know that everyone is comfortable with it, first of all, I would ask, do you truly know that? Truly? But hypothetically, maybe, okay. But these incidents were on set. It's not okay. And to act as if, as long as everyone who was there was okay with it, then it's fine, is to pretend as if morals are always relative and there are not some things that as a society we need to put a moral stand and draw a line and say, no, actually that's not okay. Because while I do not believe any of the people who are making any of these arguments in my comments would have made this next leap, it is the logical leap and the logical extension to say, well, it's totally okay to say something racist or sexist or transphobic so long as you are certain that the people who are hearing you are okay with it. No, it's still not. Because these are beliefs and stereotypes and harmful notions that should not be repeated or parroted. They are harmful by existing. Normalizing a man exposing himself in a work environment is harmful by existing, regardless of whether or not anybody present at that moment actually had a problem with it. Now, let me be clear. I am not here to try and condemn John Barrowman any harsher than I did in that original video. But I did not make this excuse for him. The only allowance that I granted him was that the most recent incident I was able to find dated from 2008, and he did not appear from my research to have had new incidents since then. So the degree to which I am, at present, barring new realizations, prepared to give him benefit of the doubt is on the basis of he seems to have stopped and grown and changed. But I did not defend him on the basis of people were okay with it and everybody laughed. And I never would. And I am really unsettled by how many people I saw do that. Some things are not okay objectively. And some things, even if they are okay in certain circumstances, are absolutely not okay in a working environment, which was where these things took place. The people present at the time do not have to be offended for it to be wrong. This is why allyship is important. This is why people who are in oppressed minorities will tell their friends who are not part of that same group, hey, if you hear somebody saying things that disparage us, please speak up, even if we're not there. It's why, as a queer person, I will tell anyone who's trying to be an ally who is heterosexual and cisgender, if you hear somebody being transphobic, homophobic, any of these things, even if it's a joke, even if it's something that you've let them get away with in the past, speak up, even if I'm not there. The absence of the people taking offense does not make certain actions or statements or beliefs or jokes okay. That's it. Thank you very much for listening. I had to get this off my chest. It was really unsettling me. This video was made possible by my Patreon. Supporters get rewards at every tier. There should be a link up there. I would greatly appreciate it. It's what enables me to actually keep doing this. It is my living. But even if you're not able to do that, politely, even if you disagree with me, drop something down in the comments and let's talk about it. And there is the usual stuff. Likes, shares, subscribes. They help me out against the algorithm, which is not consistently very kind to me. So that would be appreciated. But you also don't have to do that. As passionate as I get about these things, I am not trying to tell you what to do. Because at the end of the day, you are the council, and I'm just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned.